Voice of Truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Don't underestimate
the power
of a single
conversation.
It could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
conversations that matter.
Imagine going to school in a foreign land where you do not know anyone and you cannot speak the language. Why would you do it? That is what we're going to discuss today on this episode of Chatline. And I'm very happy because we do have our guest who actually studied abroad, and they'll tell us about their experiences. And so first I want to introduce my first guest, Annabelle. Annabelle, say hello.
Hi, everyone.
And Annabelle, where are you from?
I'm from Oxnard, California.
Nice. Weather good there today?
It's a little gloomy, but it's always good weather here. Moderate 70s.
Nice.
Low
Well, thank you
70s.
for joining us. So, Annabelle, just curious, where did you study abroad?
I studied abroad in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands. Okay, so we'll come back to that. And then we do have another guest who also studied abroad. Trevor, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Trevor. I'm from Sacramento, California, and I studied abroad in Bangkok, Thailand.
In Thailand, yes. So first of all, like I said, thank you for joining us. And so my first question, first of all, is one, before going to wherever you guys decided to study, did you guys even know the language? And what did you do about learning the language? So Annabelle, we'll start with you. What do they speak in Amsterdam?
The Netherlands, they speak Dutch.
Okay.
But they also are really good at speaking English, actually.
Okay.
And while I was there, I did take a course in, beginning Dutch. So I learned some conversational things, the basics.
Yeah. Was it difficult?
Yeah, it's different types of sounds. I've heard it's very close to German. So if you had known German, you might pick up faster, but I didn't.
Okay. And what about you, Trevor? Did you know how to speak Thai before going to Thailand?
I only speak English, so I did not know any Thai, but just like I took a beginner class in Thai. And just being around the Thai people, I kind of had to learn, unless I wanted to be alone all the time. So in order to make Thai friends, I slowly picked it up more than Tagalog now.
And the difference is because in Thailand, did they speak English?
No, only the rich people speak English, but they're taught.
So like common people do not speak the language.
No, very basic, but nobody really spoke English there. Still considered like a third world country.
Okay. So I'm just curious, what motivated you guys to actually consider studying abroad? Annabelle.
I thought it was a good opportunity to travel. Also a good opportunity to live in and be immersed in another culture, which was very interesting to me. And then I also had a couple of friends that were very close to me, also from Oxnard, who also studied abroad, one in Italy and one in Australia, and hearing about their experiences really motivated me to also take that opportunity.
Oh, that's cool. And so why did you choose the Netherlands? Though, of all the places you could go, why the Netherlands?
I actually chose the Netherlands because I still wanted to continue with the church duties and responsibilities I had at that time. I wanted to find a congregation where I was still able to be a youth group teacher, and they had worship services where the teachers taught in English, so I could still continue that, and I could still sing in the choir because they also sang in English. But as I did more research, it the Netherlands is it's a beautiful country. It was very central to Europe, so I was able to travel on my little breaks and on weekends. So I don't regret it, and I'm biased whenever they say, what's your favorite country in Europe? I got to say the Netherlands because great experience.
Well, it is a beautiful country. It really is. But what about you, Trevor? Why did you decide to study abroad?
And I always wanted to study abroad because one of my aunts always takes me to travel. So I'm very used to traveling all the time. And this is more than just traveling. It's like immersing yourself in another country, which is something that I really wanted to do. And the reason I picked Thailand, it was kind of coincidence, kind of not. I knew I wanted to go to Asia in general, but my number one was Korea. But I procrastinated all the applications, and Thailand was the only one left in Asia, which I also don't regret. I think I would have had more fun in Thailand than Korea. And Thailand, from a broad knowledge, I know that they have everything. They have the beach, they have the city, and they have like the mountains all there, all within like 2 hours of each other. So it's a very fun time.
Yeah, I think you choosing Thailand was a good idea too, because I don't think I would have ever went to Thailand if he never went to school there. That wasn't like a place I really wanted to go to.
And
And
it was super
so
cheap.
it is,
It
it's
was
very
so cheap.
inexpensive. It's very inexpensive. So now that you said, because you procrastinated with the whole Korea thing, what are the different things you guys have to do when it comes to preparing? Like, what is it you had to do, whether it was documentation and things like that? What's involved? Either one of you could answer.
For me, the first thing that I had to do was get health clearance. I had to get a lot of shots, but I'm very scared of like needles and blood. So I kind of just didn't get any shots that I was supposed to. The only shot that I did get was to not get um, STDs. That was the one that they said for sure I have to get. But all the other ones, I just didn't decide to get. I think more is like a mentality, a mindset of going to another country. But I went in it expecting nothing, so then I could be blown away, and I was.
Okay. What other things, Annabelle, did you have to prepare?
I had my passport already at that time. So I think if anyone wanted to study abroad, of course, they had to have that. Then I worked with the study abroad office to get all the paperwork ready for a student visa, as well as, picking out my classes. I was also renting an apartment at that time. So I did have to find someone to sublet for that period of time I was gone, and mental preparation. Um,
What about like when it came to finding housing and all that? Who took care of all that? Was that something you guys had to do when you got there? Was that something that the program did?
for me, the program took care of that.
But
That
did you
was the
even
same
get
for me as well.
so they all took care of it?
Yeah, I think it's just based on how they want to take care of you, and yeah, mine took care of me as well.
Now, what about like airfare? Did you guys have to pay for your own airfare to get to that country?
Yes.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
So they picked the housing, but you guys still had to pay for the housing, correct?
I think my mom or my parents were supporting me, and we did have to pay extra, but it wasn't far off from what I would have had to pay tuition wise and for like materials if I had been at home
Okay.
at my home university.
Yeah. What about you, Trevor? What was the cost compared to where you're living in Riverside compared to what it was in Thailand when you're going to school?
So my monthly expenses I probably spent on everything, on transportation, rent, food. I spent about 1.5 to $2,000 a month. And here in Riverside, I pay $1,000 already just for rent. So yeah, half of what I spent there was just my rent. So it was very cheap there. I got to do I lived a very lavish lifestyle, I'd like to say, over there. Called very cheap. So it was very nice. My rent over there was $350 compared to a
Wow.
thousand.
Did
Yeah,
you
and I was
live?
blasting the AC 24/7. I think $100 of that was just electricity because of the AC.
Did you live on campus or did you have to get like an off-site apartment or something?
It was recommended by the school, so it was like 200 exchange students all in one apartment. So you could imagine how much fun that apartment was. And it was maybe like a 20-minute walk from the school, maybe 20, 30 minutes, but I never walked. I always called a motorcycle to get me, which was about like $1 or $2 to get to school every day, back and forth.
Yes,
There's some questions from the chat, Arnie, that I wanted to ask them. Is there a high academic requirement for schools abroad for doing abroad like that? Not really. Yeah, no.
I don't remember there being a certain academic requirement. But then again, it was over 10 years ago for me. So I don't know if that's changed.
Got it. Nothing for you, Riley.
For mine, no, it's mostly just can you afford it, and that's why I picked Asia because it's super cheap. I can like overly afford it. I already get my school paid for, so I was basically almost kind of going for free, doing the same thing I would have done back at home. I think it only depends on if you are taking classes in a certain country to transfer over back to your home campus. I think that's the only thing that matters. But for me personally, I set myself up so I could go there and fail all my classes and still graduate. So my classes kind of didn't really matter. I just took it just because I had to be there.
so you just did it just to leave the country.
Basically, just to have an excuse to live in another country, you get the free student visa, so everything works
Yeah.
out.
I studied abroad. Oh, I studied abroad
go ahead,
I studied abroad my last quarter before graduating. So I only needed 2 of the courses that I took there. And the others were just for fun and interest. And then, it's kind of like my last hurrah before graduating college.
That's cool. I wish I could have done that. Back in the Stone Ages when I lived, your parents didn't let you go out of the country. You had to stay put. And so that wasn't something I could do, but that was something I've always wanted to do. So I'm glad you guys were able to do it. What are some of the similarities and differences of going to school like in the States and then studying abroad? Were there differences? Were they all similar? Whether it's academic, whether it's processes.
I think for as much as school is expensive in America, because school in Thailand, I was asking the Thai students, they probably pay like a quarter or maybe like 10% of what you would pay in America. But I think the education system in America it's very, very easy. I'm a business major, and business majors are looked at as not the brightest students in America if you're picking that for your major. But business students in Thailand are looked at very highly of. So the curriculum is way harder than what we would ever learn in the US, which I don't know why. School is way harder there.
What about for you, Annabelle?
The college that I went to, it was a branch of the main university. So I went to University College Utrecht, and it's connected to University Utrecht. And I think it's the honors college of the university. And it was very international based. So a lot of the students that were there were also from abroad. Like my roommate was from Hong Kong. And while there were Dutch students, the classes were very diverse. The classes were also small. I remember my classes being no more than maybe 15 students. So it was more focused in that way. I also know they had a different grading scale. It wasn't like, the GPA 4.0 scale. I can't quite remember what it was. Also, something else. They're very more collaborative based, and I don't know if that's changed. It's been a while since I went to school, but it was a lot of discussions, less like assignments and paperwork, some more presentations, or that could have also been for the classes I was in.
See, that's cool. Yeah.
Also, I noticed that the students were a lot younger than me. I think I went there when I was 22, but students there, I don't know if the grades and the ages they line up differently. But I was going to school with like 18 and 19-year-olds, and they were already in like their second or third year of college, and they were almost done.
Oh, wow.
When typically here, 21, 22, then you finish college if you go straight.
We have another question, like regarding like the academics, like because someone was asking, like, are there subjects in like the foreign colleges or universities that like maybe you wanted to continue your studies in the U.S. Like any, are there any colleges or universities where the credits that you receive from them can be transferable to like if you want to continue your studies in the U.S.
Annabelle
No?
or
I,
Riley?
I think I
I
had
think
to choose courses that would transfer over. Um, but like they would look at the content of the course and compare it to a related course um, at my home university. And if the content and like the the syllabus, the syllabi were similar in what they covered, then it would just transfer over.
nice. That's cool.
That was the same for me when I had to pick my classes. I had to match the syllabuses and see if this class would work. But like I said, luckily for me, none of those classes had to count, which I would have known sooner. So then I could have just not gone to class most of the time and just hung out in the. But yeah, I think it just depends on your program. They most of the time they'll tell you which classes work, which don't. For the UC programs, um, they have a list of classes from all the previous students that they've taken, so you don't have to do it yourself. So it was a little bit easier for me.
So I know you guys went there for school. Annabelle, how long were you in the Netherlands for?
I was there from January to June of 2013.
Okay, so about 6 months. So I know you were there for school, but
Yeah.
were there places you got to visit outside of the city, like during the weekends or off times? Like, tell us about those different places. Where'd you go?
Yeah, so in the Netherlands is pretty central in Europe, and on my academic breaks and long weekends, I think I visited another 6 or 7 countries, either a short plane ride or a train ride. Um, wasn't far.
Like, what are some of the countries you visited?
I went to Spain, um, Germany.
Did you go
I'm
to
blank.
Belgium?
I went to Italy. I went to Belgium. I went to Greece. I also went to Czech Republic
Oh,
and
nice.
Austria. Yeah.
Nice. Those are all cool places. I've been to all those places, so I know those are cool places. But what about in the Netherlands? Because wasn't your school in Amsterdam?
It was in Utrecht, which is about 30 minutes away from Amsterdam, but I was in Amsterdam a lot.
So where did you go in the Netherlands besides Amsterdam?
Mm, oh, that's hard. Uh, I
Or
went I don't remember the city names. I should remember. I went to like Dordrecht. I went to Den Haag, The Hague. Um, I went to Zaanstad to see like the windmills.
there?
Um, probably a couple other cities. Just I know what a train ride to get from one end of the country to another. It's only 3 hours, so easy to travel.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the benefits of studying abroad, because then you get to go visit other places. What about you, Trevor? I know you were in Bangkok, but what other places did you go to during the time that you were there?
I fortunately and unfortunately didn't travel outside of the country. I only traveled inside of the country because I was involved with a lot of extracurriculars at my school, so I didn't want to leave. But the places I did go to was Phuket, which is south of Thailand, and the north of Thailand is Chiang Mai with the mountains. And there's a lot of different islands that I just kept bouncing around. But for my other friends that they travel, most of the time, what everyone does is they go to Laos, Vietnam, Bali, Cambodia, Philippines, all the Southeast Asian countries that are right
So because you guys are away from home, right? What are Annabelle, like what are some of the struggles you faced while you were there, if any?
I think I got homesick sometimes, missing my friends and family. I think just being in a new place, it can be confusing. Figuring out how to get from place to place. In some of the countries I visited, I didn't know the language, and maybe people didn't speak English. So being able to, navigate new places on your own, it can be really challenging.
What about you, Riley? What are some of the struggles you faced while being abroad?
I think biggest thing is that you just a lot of the times, but I liked it. I like being alone. I'm used to it a lot. I'm used to traveling alone. Take advantage of that, but you just gonna be alone a lot of the times. A lot of self-reflection that you can do kind of vibe by yourself. Because as much as I did have a lot of friends, I kind of just met them, so I wasn't too close to like my friends back at home. But I think it was all beneficial. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. What are some of the lessons you gained while studying abroad, Annabelle? What are like some life lessons? Because you were already on your own prior to going there. So
Yes. I think traveling alone really, um, you're able to see what you can do independently. It forces you to, be brave, be courageous. Um, you have to manage your time. You have to, figure out how to get from point A to point B. A lot of problem solving, a lot of being flexible too. And I feel like I was soft spoken and shy, but you also have to learn to advocate for yourself, especially when you get lost. But it's just there's the world has filled with so many beautiful places, so many adventures, and I think studying abroad is a great opportunity to take advantage of that.
yeah, I agree. Trevor, what are some of the lessons you learned while studying abroad?
I think the biggest lesson I learned is that I don't want to live in America anymore. It just showed me that there's so much out there in the world. You can do a lot with not having a lot of money. And a lot of people in Thailand, they don't have a lot, but they're super happy. They're probably way happier than people who are super rich in America. So it kind of just gives you a different perspective on life, I think. And I really took that. So I'm going to try my hardest to go back and not be in America anymore.
Yeah, that's what I hear from a lot of people who live abroad. Um, what Annabelle? What food? Tell us about food in the Netherlands. Like,
There
what are they known for?
So my favorite thing to eat over there was stroop waffles. And, probably familiar with that cookie here. It's basically like a wafer cookie with caramel in the middle. And sometimes you can see the mini version here at the store, or maybe this size version that you could put over a mug. But in the Netherlands, you go to, the weekend markets and they make you a fresh one. They're like as big as your face. Oh, it's so good. That was my favorite thing there. They have Dutch pancakes, which are like crepes.
Yeah. What about like real food? Because those are
Oh
all
my
desserts.
God. I wasn't too big a fan of like the real food. And I don't know, maybe it's not, they didn't have like entrees where I could compare it to say Filipino food. I
Mhm.
feel like they had a lot of like more snackish things.
Yeah. What about you, Trevor? What was the food like in Thailand?
Amazing.
Some way better than Filipino food. And I think it might be healthier too. My top three is khao gai, which is just chicken and rice. But the rice is like soak it in like chicken broth or oil. I don't know. It's super good. And then the famous one is Paca, which is just like beef with a lot of spice. And then of course pad thai. But everything in Thailand was so good. And the best part about it is that it was probably like $2 for a whole meal. So when you get something for $2, $3, I think it's just gonna automatically always taste good.
Yeah, that's true. Because I do remember we could eat whatever we wanted every single day because it was so cheap. And with Thailand, you kind of gonna have to bring cash with you because a lot of the places there don't take cards and everything. And so I just remembered bringing so much cash, and I didn't even use half of it because it was so cheap in Thailand, right? What about if
What about
let's say
spice level in Thailand? Because I know when I go to Thai restaurants here, the spice can be raw.
I think you can tell them, right? Trevor, you could tell them how spicy you want it.
Yeah. Pet noi. That's how you say no spice. So I say pet noi every single time because I can't handle the spice. But I think if you continue to eat it, then you get used to it. But they make it really, really spicy. It's like spicier than Mexican food. It's the spiciest food to my taste buds at least.
Yeah, I told them no spice either because I can't do spice. But the thing is, they had more variety of food. So over there, like they had good desserts, they had good like shakes, the mango shakes, and they're all fresh drinks and stuff. And then also the entrees, like every type of entree you can have. Because I did notice that also in the Netherlands, where I was eating more of the sweets than an entree. Right. So if let's say people were deciding, should I study abroad? Should I not? What would you suggest, Annabelle?
I would encourage you to do it 100%. And if you are concerned about like funds or, going by yourself or just doing something new, like be brave and do it. And there are always resources that you can find to make the opportunity happen.
I have a follow up for you, Annabelle, because earlier you kind of touched on it already. You said you kind of had to psych yourself out. What did you mean by that? Like, how did you get yourself mentally there to be able to do this? Because I feel like there are a lot of us who are very comfortable in our comfort zones, and
Yeah.
I think to go to a whole different country or just moving away from home, I think in general is already difficult. To let alone do it in another country, that's kind of like whoa. So how do you psych yourself out for something like that?
I think you focus on what you'll gain from it. And the just being more open minded to what you'll learn from the experience, and knowing that other students are also there with you and they're going through the similar experience, so you guys get to do it together. I
Would
don't
you
know,
say
do you
the
have any
same,
insight?
Riley?
Say that again.
How did you psych yourself out to be able to go through
Um,
this
I think
process?
mine was a little different. I think if you like taking risks, if you like being spontaneous and stuff, of course, go. I would describe myself that way. I like just doing a lot of random things. I put my study abroad or doing something new every single day, meeting someone new every single day. So there's a lot of just spontaneous things, a lot of randomness. So I didn't necessarily have to set myself up. Like I said before, I came in with no expectations. So I just went there with an open mind and just took it all in.
I think also for me, especially because I, was as a woman, and I think traveling might be a little more scary, especially if
Yeah,
you're by
for sure.
yourself. So, I make sure to do my research. Where can I go, or places that are safe for a woman who is traveling alone? Or I had reached out to other people who were a part of my church, and I would spend a day with them. They would also show me around. So you also want to be wise when you travel. You're not doing anything reckless or going somewhere dangerous, or um, going somewhere where you might not be able to handle the different problems you might encounter.
Is there stuff that came up that you didn't expect? Like maybe in the first month or so, you're like, oh, I didn't know this was gonna happen. Like you kind of had to troubleshoot some things, or make plan like go to your plan Bs for stuff. Like traveling, what was traveling like? I think someone was asking that earlier in the chat because I'm fortunate to be able to like, well, I don't know if some people would say fortunate because some people don't like driving. I'm fortunate to have a car, and I know in some like other cities it's just normal for people to use public transport. And I feel like that transition from being able to drive my own car to doing transportation, I feel like I would panic even in the US. I can't imagine doing that in another country. So how did you work stuff like that out, especially trying to be on time to everything and wherever you're going and reading the signs, like what does this mean?
A lot of research, and
Yeah.
you learn. I mean, it has like there's a key, it's color coded. You just got to know where you're going, and you also can't be shy to ask for help. And you kind of look for people who maybe you hear them speaking English, or you'll go to the
Hmm.
people that work at the public transportation stations, and they were mostly always helpful.
Okay.
Can I
Do you
just
have like
answer that question,
oh,
Tony?
yeah.
Can I answer that really? Because I would say also had experience studying abroad technically. 'Cause like in the Philippines, like we commuted like a lot, and something that I learned, like this is when I was kind of living away from like my parents. I was with my brother. This is for like the first years of like high school, where we were in the city and we were commuting. But something that I learned from him is like, if you don't know, like if this is your first time like commuting to this place, always leave like an hour earlier than you think you need to, and kind of time it like, okay, like that commute took me about 45 minutes, so this is like a lot of time that I should that I should have for my travel. And then yeah, like you kind of, and a lot of thing about commuting is just remembering where you ride, like the bus or the jeep or whichever public transportation you're gonna ride. Just remember when it's gonna show up, like like how long it usually takes for it to get to like the destination, things like that. And once you have it memorized, you kind of already get into a routine of like, okay, I leave the house at this time, the jeep's gonna be here, like, and then when the jeep drops me off, there's gonna be a bus there, and it's gonna take it. Like it's kind of like it sounds scary. It sounds scary, but like once you kind of learn your route for like your commute, it becomes like a lot easier. But yeah, just wanted to answer that question too.
Yeah. Trevor, how did you get around Thailand? Because, you didn't have a car there like you have now.
So just like in the Philippines, they have Grab there, and I don't know if the Philippines has Bolt, but we use Grab and Bolt. It's basically like Uber and Lyft. And my preferred way was to hop on the back of a motorcycle because it's the fastest and the cheapest. It's fastest and most unsafest, but it gets you from point A to point B. I like it because they go between all the cars and they go very fast. They probably run a lot of red lights, but you get to your destination very fast for like $2. I think a motorcycle ride across the whole city probably maybe like $5 to $7 for a taxi, maybe 10. So that's what I did a lot of the times. They have like a subway station there, but not too many comparing it to like Japan or anything. So I took a motorcycle a lot. It's very scary for a lot of people. It's very dangerous for a lot of people. But like I said before, I like taking the risk. It's fun for me.
Well, I'm not a risk taker like Trevor is, but there was a time when I first got there where we would always take the taxi, and that just took us forever because you're stuck in traffic. And so when he started doing the bike thing, I'm like, oh, let me try the bike. But it's so much fun. And then once we did the bike, it didn't matter that there was three of us traveling. We all just got on a motorcycle each. We said, forget about the car because it gets you there faster. And so, I think the only time we took the car was when we would go to church. Other than that, we would be on a motorcycle going everywhere else because it is much faster. So, yeah, because public transportation there isn't the same as like Japan or New York City or anything like that. Like, because even in the Netherlands, they
Yeah.
have a lot of public transportation, right?
Yeah. They also bike a lot. The Netherlands is famous for all their bikes. So anywhere within the city, I would bike or I'd walk. Um, so when I would go to church, I would have to walk, I would bike to the train station, then I would take a 30-minute train ride, and then I would take a 15-minute bus ride, and then I would walk 10 minutes. So you take all the different modes of transportation. It was nice. I was doing it with friends too, so we're all going the same way.
Now, now how did that, like safety wise, did you feel safe doing public transportation?
Oh yeah, I felt perfectly safe.
And see, it's funny because you know what? In Europe or anywhere else, I could, or like in Japan, I feel so much safer walking around there even at nighttime compared to anywhere in the US. Here in the US,
Too.
no, I'm not kidding. You will not see me walking around at night unless I'm with a bunch of people, right? But by myself, there's no way I'm gonna do it.
Arnie, if you're worried about like your commuting, like let's say you're commuting, like say in the Philippines, if you're worried like about like what you might encounter, the thing that we do, like the thing that I do personally is if I'm wearing a watch, if I like I won't have my watch, I'll put it in my bag like for until I get to my destination. Like with my phone, I won't use my phone until I get to my destination. It's also in my bag. And this is something that I kind of like to do. Like I have a wallet, like I have my wallet, and there's like I would say only 20% of my cash is there. Like the rest, it's on like different parts of like my clothes. Like I'll have one that's kind of like flipped to like my sock. I'll have like one kind of like tape like inside my shirt. Like it's like I have it in like different places, but like for me, it's like how I feel like safe. Like traveling to,
See, but you know,
like commuting. I mean,
when I was in Europe, I never felt the need to do that. You know, like it's true. When I did visit the Philippines, I did that same exact thing, right? But when I was in Europe, it's like I wasn't scared, and I had no fear. Unlike here in the U.S. and I guess Philippines too, where yeah, I would not put all my money in one spot because if you get mugged, then that's it. It's all gone, right?
I mean, I want to state though that I'm a little paranoid. Like I would be like that in any place because I'm a little paranoid about like travel, like commuting. I have a lot of experience commuting, but I'm still a little paranoid about it. So, just trying that out there. Just trying that out there. It's not like for me, it's not for a specific country. It's just that's just how I am traveling or commuting. Yeah.
I've also heard
No,
this.
I think me is depending on the country.
Sorry. No, go
Oh,
ahead,
go ahead,
Art.
Tony.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, because I've heard this about travel, I think, in general, that, when you get to travel and you see different cultures, it kind of changes your outlook on life a bit, your perspective. Did you feel that way? And how soon did you feel that way, Annabelle, when you started to study abroad? Like, how did you notice your perspective kind of change, the way it was when you were here in the States versus when you were there?
I I can't specifically recall a time or length of time that my perspective changed, but being able to be exposed to another culture, and the my classmates were from so many different countries, you learn about their different values and their different traditions. And it just makes you more open-minded to all the different things and beliefs and values that other people and other cultures uphold. So, I don't know. And I like studying abroad wasn't my only travel experience. I enjoy traveling, so every year I take a trip or two internationally. My husband and I like to travel, and we enjoy being able to um, see how other people in different countries live. Even in their lifestyle, it could be different,
Hmm.
as in their work hours, what they prefer to do in their evenings. Um, Even when it comes to work, like some of the countries we visited, 5 o'clock, all the shops are closed because that's meant to be your
Wow,
family and go home. Yeah.
really? That's nice. That's actually nice. I like that. Hmm. I was just wondering because I know heard that from a lot of people that whenever they come back, whether from like just a casual vacation, or if they did some kind of, they were doing something there for outreach or whatever, they feel a deep sense of gratitude. I feel like, is that something that you felt as well coming back from studying abroad?
I think more so when I visited maybe third world countries and coming back, being grateful for the
Mm.
opportunities that I have here. Um, but I I don't know.
It's okay.
Arnie, what would you have to say? You've also traveled a lot.
Yeah, she traveled a lot. I don't know if that's been true for you, Arnie. Like when you're traveling, does that widen your kind of perspective, range of
Yes. I mean, like,
gratitude?
first
Yeah.
of all, yeah, especially like that. When you come from a third world country and then you see what we have, that a lot of people don't have over there, it does really change your perspective. But the other thing is also on the other side is when you see the way people live in other countries where they really don't focus so much on working 24/7. They have a life outside of work. They have their family time. They have their time to go out. With some countries, dinner at a restaurant could last you like 3 hours because it's all about enjoying the company. It's about, enjoying the meal. So, here, if the waiter doesn't come to you in 5 minutes, everyone's all like, uh, where's my waiter? Right. See, but over there, they just really enjoy each other's company. So they enjoy different things. And I think that's a big difference compared to what we experience here in the States.
I would have to agree with that. Like I think American culture is very, you work to live. Is that correct? And then other places that I've been to, no.
You live
You
to
live to
work.
work
Yeah.
versus work to live.
Yeah.
Other countries have, they put more emphasis on the balance between family and your social life and work, and it's not just all work.
Your biggest culture shock moment. Arnie, you can answer this too. And EJ, I know because you've also, like your
No,
biggest
like I
culture
was
shock
thinking of
moment.
like what you guys were saying about like working to live and like finding like that balance. I think, and this is just my theory. Don't quote me on this. This is my theory. I think it comes from like not having like a lot. I think because here, like here in the States, it feels fast paced because I feel like we have a lot. We have a lot of things that occupy our time. But with like especially in like like someone from like that came from like a third world country as well, when you don't have like a lot, you can't, there's kind of like this simplicity of like being like feeling like you can take life slow. So like what Arnie said about like sometimes you'll spend 3 hours at a restaurant just talking to family and eating. Like that does happen. I remember like the longest my family has stayed in like a single restaurant talking. It's like I think it took us like 5 hours because it was a birthday celebration, of course, but like a lot of it was like talking, kids like playing. Like, it took us 5 hours. Like, but that's the kind of like thing. I think here we're just used to like fast pace, kind of like a fast pace, like life where it's like, and especially trying to advance further, right? Like get more things, gain more stuff. But yeah, like that's just my theory on this. So don't quote me on that. There's no actual studies on this. This is like my personal observation.
I think
Or,
I think my biggest culture shock was when I went to Israel because going there I had an open mind, but then I also had that, oh, is it safe? Because one, I'm traveling by myself. I'm a female. And that was one of the things. And then, you always hear about all the negativity of things that happen in Jerusalem and all that stuff. And so I kind of was really shocked when I got there because everybody was so nice and they were just so helpful. If you wanted to go somewhere, they would show you how to get there. I mean, they were just very very nice. And like I said, that was one of the cities I walked around at nighttime that I did not feel scared whatsoever. Like maybe the first 5 minutes, I'm like, should I be walking around at nighttime by myself? But after a while, I just realized that, it's safe. And so I think that's one thing that really shocked me, because I was expecting, how they televise on the news all the negativity of the things that happen in the Middle East. And so that's what I was anticipating. But it was just so, one, it was beautiful, and then two, the people were really nice. And I didn't think I would like their food, but their food was actually pretty good. So I think that was one of the things that shocked me. Annabelle, did you have any shocks?
Trying to think, I don't have anything that super stands out, but I've been to Japan a couple times. Japan's wonderful. It's so clean. All the people are so nice. You feel safe all parts of the day. Um, I specifically remember I was at the airport, and they tell you don't leave your belongings. I needed to go to the bathroom and I was by myself. I didn't have anyone to watch it. I just left it outside the door, did my thing, came back, still there. And I felt safe doing it. I felt comfortable doing it. I think that difference for me was, something I'll always remember.
And just curious, so like, since you did go around everywhere, but like if people were to go visit the Netherlands, where would you suggest they go, or what would you suggest they do? What was one of the things you liked about that area?
I think they should definitely take or rent a bike, travel around the city. I would recommend taking like a cruise along the canals, getting a fresh stroopwafel, checking out the museums. This is also a tourist American thing, but a lot of us have read The Diary of Anne Frank in middle school. The Anne Frank house is there. If you go in the springtime, all the tulips and Copenhagen, beautiful, the windmills. It's a lot to offer. They also have great cheese.
That's what I was gonna say. I was waiting for you to say that, right? Gouda, especially Gouda. They got Gouda in different flavors, right? So I did. I went shopping there and got all my cheeses from Amsterdam before
They
coming
give you
back.
like blocks of cheese.
Yes, yes. And the windmill, that was really nice. I thought that was really cool because I went there too. So that was pretty nice. Um, what about like if they're a shopper? How's the shopping over there?
They have a lot of malls. Not so different from here. Obviously, the stores will be different. Um, they have a lot of like flea markets too on the weekends.
Hmm.
I specifically remember when I was there, they had Koninginnedag, which was like Queen's Day, and everyone's just out on the streets. Everyone's like selling things. It's a big celebration because it's supposed to be. I don't know if it's the Queen's birthday, but it's a big it's a big party outside, and everyone's just enjoying the day.
So
Everyone's wearing orange. It's great.
Tony, if you had a chance to go study abroad, would you do it now that you've heard Annabelle?
I think I would just have to very much psych myself out because I'm not that I'm not I've never been against it, but it is something that was on the back of my mind like all throughout, because there was an opportunity I think in high school for this trip to Spain. Actually, I don't remember how many days. I think it was supposed to be like a week or 2 weeks, and I was really hesitant about it because I knew my Spanish wasn't the best. I was like, yeah, I kind of chickened out. Um, but if I had to do it over again, I think I would. I think I would just work harder to psych myself out and be like, you know what? Let's just try. Let's just try, and we'll see. Like, you know, like what you said earlier, focusing on the potential benefits as opposed to already thinking of worst case scenarios. I think that that's what gets to us possibly when we are, faced with these opportunities. We kind of jump to those worst case scenarios first instead of thinking like, well, what are ways that I could like benefit from this experience and like having that be the forefront, you know. So yeah, thanks Annabelle for sharing your
Yeah.
insights.
I
What,
also
what
think
about you? Go ahead. No, go
I
ahead,
say,
Anna.
when you look back on it, whenever I look back on it and think about how young I was, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did that. Wow. Like so amazing. Look at all the things I learned. Look at all the things I did. And it's just a life-changing experience.
I have to agree. What about you, EJ? Would you ever consider studying abroad if you had a chance?
I think I would actually. Like, guess going from like the Philippines, like studying in the Philippines to studying here, like I already have that experience. So for me, there's like less fear now. Would say that I won't like look for it, you know, like and even if the opportunity arises, I think I'd still consider like I'd still be 50-50 on it. But I think I would. Like if like if the opportunity is like really good, I think I would consider like studying
Yeah.
abroad. Although I do like being close to family, so there's that in consideration.
But you get to make other families when you're there. When you get to meet people and stuff, they become your family. So don't be stuck on like just staying home. There's family all around the world. You
Oh
just
no,
get to
like I know. I just mean like being close, like to my parents, and like I want to be able to be somewhere, at least be in the same country, so I can like visit them. Like whenever, like not like just being in the same country for me is like enough. Or like if it were in different countries, like somewhere that's like close enough that it's like
and
the
remember,
travel is possible.
it's a temporary thing. You're not moving there. It is just
Yeah, yeah.
a semester or something like that. But yeah. But anyways, Annabelle, thank you so much for joining us. I hope our listeners and our viewers got something out of this and will consider studying abroad. I wish I had the chance to study abroad when I was younger, but that wasn't an option for me. So I'm studying abroad in life. And going everywhere for life. So thank you all for joining in. For those who tuned in, thank you so much. We hoped you enjoyed this conversation we had about studying abroad. And hopefully we will all see you again next week on INCRadio chat line. Everyone, have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh, do we still wait?
We're just waiting for